Welcome to this edition of This Blue Dot. I am Philippe Cicchini, going solo today. Zaina has some other obligations, but she will be returning, obviously, on a future episode. So excited to have the guest that we have today. If you can tell, obviously, whenever we have our episodes, that my background is just full of sports memorabilia. And we are thrilled today to be bringing on someone who is directly tied to one of our local sports team. Obviously, the Pistons had a phenomenal year, if you've been paying attention, and we are thrilled to be bringing on the head strength and conditioning coach for the Detroit Pistons. So with no further ado, we will be bringing on today's guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by the Detroit Pistons head strength and conditioning coach, Jordan Sabourin. Jordan, so happy to have you with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's funny is that, our kids go to school together, and that's actually how I know you and have run into you. When I first saw you a couple of years ago, our girls were in preschool together. And I saw this big guy always walking his kid or dropping off or picking up. And I'm like, man, this guy really likes the Detroit Pistons. He's always sporting Pistons gear. I'm like, man, we get it. We get it. You're a Pistons fan, and then I come to find out.
Honestly, I need some new gear that's not Detroit Pistons branded, because I honestly today I was even looking for. I'm like, I need to wear a shirt that doesn't say Detroit Pistons all over, and I had a hard time finding a shirt. So I agree. I know it's sometimes it's funny because I'm usually going to work right after, so I almost have to wear it. But
Yeah.
I know where you come from.
Yeah. Oh, so is that the case? So you go to work in the afternoons, or what are your usual working hours, especially in the off season?
If I'm dropping the kid, I'll usually sometimes if I can, I'll drop the kids off at work and go after that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when they were in preschool, it worked out even better because it started a little earlier than they do now. But yeah, when I'm picking them up after, I'm usually coming right from work. So
got it
on a normal day. But
got it. Yeah, and what's also funny, I mean, it's just crazy that I was thinking about this. So you grew up in Sarnia. I have cousins in Sarnia, so I mean, around our same age. So I'm imagining that you might know some of them. And then we were talking the other day, and your wife works with my cousin. And it's like crazy Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation. And then something I didn't tell you yet, but so I was living in Washington, D.C., and believe it or not, I actually have an IMDb credit because a guy I met in my improv comedy class in DC, his name was Ivan Kander. And one day we just got to talking, and his uncle was Arnie Kander, who was at one point your boss. So it's just crazy how connected, it was pretty crazy. So
I wonder if I know any people that's in your family that are from Sarnia there.
Yeah, no, we'll save that for an outside.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure my audience is not going to care about my cousin Honorio and his kids. Anyway, but obviously, huge season for you guys. Historic, literally a historic turnaround in NBA standards. You guys tripled your win total from last year to this year. And I mean, you got to be particularly proud. I imagine the buzz in the building and around the team was just different this year compared to years past. Can you talk a little bit about, what it meant or what it felt like going to work this year compared to years past?
Yeah, no, obviously it was so much sweeter after the last couple of years that were really challenging. Obviously didn't have any success at all the last couple of years. And this year was the biggest way to describe it was it was just a really fun year all the way around. I think that the players we had were like a perfect mix of just they got along really well in the locker room. They played, similar style, but obviously when you win games, and that's really what is your main objective as a professional in professional sports, it's just it's really fun and it's enjoyable and it's nice going to work and when everybody's in a good mood and smiling and just makes it that much sweeter. So
Yeah.
all around, it was a great year. It was a fun year, and it was that much sweeter because we haven't had one of those years, and really my I mean, we did make the playoffs a couple times, but this was just extra sweet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in my 12 years with the Pistons.
Yeah. It was a really good blend because in the last few years in particular, the average age of the team was somewhere in the very low 20s. I mean, it just seemed like everyone on the team was between the ages of like 19 and 24. And then this year, the team went out and added a lot more veterans. I mean, accomplished veterans, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley, and Tobias Harris in particular were just big additions. I mean, guys who have a lot of experience combined. So that definitely was a really good addition to the team overall, and just showed in the playoffs how close you guys kept it up with the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks are they spanked the Celtics, and but you guys hung tough. I mean, every game could have gone either way, so that was pretty exciting. I'm sure for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just the success we had was um, really benefited from the way we played and the style we played, and I think that carried on in the playoffs as well. I think we were like a blue collar, grinded, we'll fight to the last rep type team.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that really helped us throughout the season. Sneak a couple wins here and there, where in the past we probably wouldn't have had those wins, and those accumulate, quite a bit, quite often over the season. And you can put you in a pretty good place going into playoffs. And I think that's kind of what happened. I don't think we were that much more talented than we have. I mean, a lot of things kind of fell into place with certain guys having career years and all that. But I think just the way our style of play, just grit and grind, really helped us, especially against the Knicks. Really kind of, we didn't give up at all and just fought them to the last, till the buzzer went off, really.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped us,
Yeah.
um, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, awesome, awesome season. So again, getting back to your background, so grew up in Canada, and member of the Canadian men's national team. Is that right? You played on the team?
Yeah, I played a little bit with them. I didn't go to like the Olympics or anything, but there's a couple tournaments I played. I went to training camp a few times with them.
Mhm.
Went to the university games as a member of the national team, 2006, I believe. So yeah, I had a few stints with them, which was a great experience. And obviously, anytime you can wear
Yeah,
your country's flag on your chest,
yeah,
it's pretty special.
it's
So
got to be awesome. And then you played in Germany for a while, and kind of like a foreshadowing with the Stuttgart Pistons of all the teams, and
yeah,
then a couple other teams. So what was it like playing in Germany? Because I some of my one of my feelings is that it was around the time that Darko was playing, and so that was kind of a lot of our first experience with international play and keeping track of international players. And I think I had read some reports that some of the stadiums or arenas that Darko had played in, these scouts were saying it was filled with smoke. I mean, people were just chain smoking on the end of the benches and in the crowd. And I'm just wondering, was that kind of your experience too, like playing in Germany? Was it a different atmosphere than what you were used to on this side of the ocean?
yeah, definitely a lot different. They like bring all these musical loud, things that make so much noise, and they yell and they sing the whole time, and they're standing up and they're dancing. So it was definitely unique, definitely different than what it is over here. But yeah, there's just so many different experiences in European basketball that I didn't know what it was about. Obviously, I'd never been over there to watch a
Mhm.
game. I just wanted to keep playing,
Yeah,
and I was lucky enough to get a team to pay me money to do that.
yeah, yeah.
And so I didn't play at the highest level in Europe. Like I said, there's many different levels even in each country.
Mhm.
So, I started, I kind of got lucky with the team, and kind of we won that year. We had a really good team, and then played on a couple other teams throughout my 5 years over there, and each one had its own unique experiences, and I kind of moved up. And then my last year, the team actually folded after my last year, and that was kind
Oh,
of it for me.
yeah.
The ownership just wasn't happy with. It's a lot different over. It's not like anything like the NBA, especially at the level I was playing at. So it
Mm.
was just like a normal guy that was a businessman, and he invested in the team because he loved basketball. But we didn't have the success he was hoping for based on his investments, And so he folded, and that was it for me. I figured it was time to hang him up and move on. So,
Yeah.
but it was all in all, it was a great experience, just very different, very
Yeah.
different.
Looking at your LinkedIn, it seems like that was around the time when you were playing with the teams in Germany that you really got into um, gaining an appreciation for training regimens. Can you talk about where that interest came from? Because I'm sure not a lot of players, well, not most of them anyway, get that approach, but it seems like that's something that you definitely honed in on and have just taken off with ever since that experience.
Yeah, yeah. No, so it started in high school. I remember I don't know what it was, but I think I definitely I don't know what the actual trigger was, but I remember I was obviously a lot. I was very tall growing up, and then I knew I was going to play. I actually grew up playing hockey. That was my
Mm.
first sport. But in high school. I was playing hockey and basketball, and I remember my high school coach saying, like, "Look, you're going to be 7 foot tall. You should probably make a decision here." And so that's what I did. I made a decision to play basketball, and I ended up getting a scholarship to Oakland University,
Mm.
obviously, and. I think it was right around when I committed to Oakland that I kind of realized, like, okay, I got a lot of work to do here. I want to make sure I can put my or control what I can control and make sure my body is performing optimally as best I can. And I remember Oakland gave me a workout program back then. This is 1999 maybe.
Mm.
That obviously it's evolved a lot since then, but even then I remember just being super dialed in with the program and was in the weight room all the time, and just kind of that's where my passion began for strength and conditioning.
Mm.
And I didn't want to ever have an excuse that I wasn't in the best shape I could be or I wasn't strong. And so that kind of just lighted a passion for strength and fitness. And then I started reading Men's Health and Men's Fitness magazine, and kind of got to know a little bit then. And then it honestly wasn't until I was overseas that I realized I was actually going to do this professionally.
Mm.
At Oakland, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Obviously, I just went there, and my focus was basketball. Unfortunately, I kind of regret that. I wish I would have had a more of a clear path to post basketball, but um, it was overseas that I kind of had a lot of time to reflect and research really that it is a profession, because even back then, early 2000s, it wasn't a big profession. It wasn't a common profession. And so,
Mm.
um, after some research and came back after I was done playing, and that's what kind of explored different opportunities. And I actually met with Arnie Kander, who I had actually trained with as a athlete at Oakland. That's how I
Mm.
got to know
Okay.
Arnie. And so after I was done playing, I think it was 2009, I reached out to him and, like, hey, I think I really want to do this. It's something I'm passionate about. And he kind of helped guide me into the steps I need to take care of
Mhm.
to get to that point. Obviously, I dreamed of being the Detroit Pistons strength coach like him.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's only one of those positions,
Mm.
and in the league, there's only 30 at the time, especially.
Hmm.
Now it's kind of evolved and expanded, but so it's been a dream job, and it's something I'm passionate about. So going to work every day and studying and researching and learning is something that comes easier when you actually love what you do. So
Yeah. I mean, again, growing up in the area, guys like me and a lot of people I know, we remember Mike Abdenauer. And Mike Abdenauer, his look was the warm-up pants, it was the cardigan sweater over the polo. And I'm
yeah,
wondering if do you rock that style or
yeah, no, no, no. Just like the professions have evolved, so has the
yeah.
attire.
Yeah, I was about to say because it was funny growing up and watching the games in the 80s and 90s. You thought that Mike Abdenauer was part of the coaching staff, like he was right there next to Chuck Daly, like and ready to jump in, and you thought that he was drawing up some of the plays. And then, yeah, it seemed like over time, I mean, my assumption is that yes, you are the head strength and conditioning coach, but I'm imagining that you have a small army of people that you have on your team, in your department that helps get the players ready. Whereas I figure back in the day, it was probably one person whose job that fell on, and now you probably have specialists. Is that right, or am I off base with that?
Yeah, 100%. Even my first year in 2013, there was only it was me, Arnie Kander, a massage therapist, and Mike Abdenauer. That was
Mm,
it. Now we have four of each position:
mm,
nutritionist, we have massage, we have psych coach, and we have there's so many people, like you said, specialists.
yeah,
We have consultants, outside consultants. So it's evolved and grown a ton in the last 12 years for sure.
yeah. And I see that you have a ton of certifications. I mean, I think that I see one of them was a bodybuilding or certification. One of them was speed and explosion, something like that. So where do you get these different certifications?
It's more just courses that you learn from and different associations that produce these courses and they provide a certification and
Uh-huh.
yeah, just it's just about there's some obviously there's a ton of different ones I have, but it's more just about me exploring and learning from different people and different organizations out there, and again, just want to make sure I'm learning from all different
Yeah.
aspects of my job. So
Yeah. They're obviously athletes, they operate and their bodies are just at a level that the average person can't even, relate to. Because a lot of it not only is the training, but a lot of it's muscle memory. A lot of it is just technique. I mean, technique alone, I mean, especially when you come to sports like baseball and football, that, how you get up off the snap or how you swing the bat or whatever. A lot of it's technique, how you can just change 1 millimeter here, 1 inch there, and it results in a different, incredibly different results. One of the videos that's been going viral lately is this Olympic sprinter who went to her kid's field day, and the parents did a sprint, and she she took it seriously. She blew everybody away by like, hundreds of feet. But the way she ran, you could just tell this was not a normal average human being. The way she ran with her technique as a sprinter and just put all the other parents to shame. So, I would imagine a lot of these certifications, a lot of these like symposiums and things that you're doing year round, you are always bettering your knowledge when it comes to what is the latest technique, what's the breakthrough, right? And I was wondering what are some easy like three basic tips that everyday people could implement when it comes to their own if they want to improve their strength, their core, their conditioning? What are three easy things that the average treadmill warrior can just add to their regimen, that are simple enough that would make a world of difference?
yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to have anything revolutionary here, but I think the biggest thing, and keeping it simple, put it this way, I think what would help the most people is things they already know, but they
Mm,
just don't do. And
okay.
that sounds silly, but I think just having a consistent exercise, just being consistent with exercise every
Yeah.
day, or even not even every day, every other day. Start
Hmm.
with that. Just start somewhere and be consistent. That's the thing I preach the most is just consistency. Obviously, diet is a huge component. Everybody knows that already. A lot of people just don't refuse to change.
Hmm.
But if you're not getting the results, whether it be adding muscle or losing fat or whatever your goals are, then you probably need to make some adjustments. And it's probably something you already know that you just aren't willing to do, or you just don't have the discipline to do.
Yeah.
But it's usually fairly simple, right?
Hmm.
So those two, for sure. But obviously I'm somewhat biased, but I think people are afraid to talk to professionals, or maybe they don't want to invest in a professional, for example, a personal trainer or someone that can help them, even if it's just a motivational thing or just, having accountability, I think are big things that a professional can do. Obviously, I'm biased because I am a professional, but I think people, the things that they invest in financially, but are refuse to invest in their own body and their own health. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, if you really look at your finances and you really want to make a difference in your own health and your own body, then maybe you should consider finding somebody that can really help you do that. So I think those three are the biggest things that I would recommend most people.
So would joining a gym be all right on its own, or would you say that if you're going to take the step to join a gym, then you should probably go that extra step and talk to one of the trainers at the gym to actually see if they can suggest some sort of regimen or some sort of regular exercise that you should do? I mean,
I see nowadays, I see it like every hotel I go to, there's always someone working out with their phone or iPad with either a trainer that's on the other,
yeah,
via FaceTime, or it's in a video that's, there's so many resources out there. It,
yeah,
it isn't necessarily you have to go to a gym and you have to talk to the personal trainers there. Maybe it's just finding an expert out there that is willing to work remote with you.
mhm,
And then you check in with them every day or every other day, or they build you a specific program that's individualized. Or even if it's just a find somewhere that local that that you can get to quickly and can accommodate you and is willing to work with you. I think there's a lot of options out there,
yeah.
and I think obviously the remote aspect of it is growing tremendously over the last 5 years for sure.
Yeah, I mean we used to have a stationary bike in our house. It was just an old stationary bike and my wife never used it. And we got to talking about it and she says, "I really want one of those Peloton or Nordic Track bikes with the screen." And sure enough, I mean, once we got it because it unlocked this like competitive, yeah, you have the trainer, but then at the time that we got it, there was also a leaderboard. And that it motivated her, I mean, so it's just funny how sometimes people get turned off because, a certain exercise regimen or whatever, they're not getting enough out of it, even mentally. Like it doesn't stimulate them mentally enough. Like physically, sure, but it's not challenging. It's not triggering this challenge or competitive nature inside them, for whatever reason. I mean, I know in my case too, I went to a few CrossFit classes, and I never really cared for it. I mean, a lot of it was just very strenuous, but I ended up falling in love with this UFC boxing gym, and I would go 3 or 4 times, and I've been keeping that up, like still doing, boxing workouts a couple times a week. And yeah, I mean, I'll never do cross training or I'll never do CrossFit, but boxing workouts, absolutely, because there's something about venting that anger on a punching bag that, so it is, it
And I
is,
think I think the point really it should be here is like finding what works for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And everybody has their own interests, and some people like CrossFit. Some people like just I just like throwing weights around, really.
yeah,
That's all. And playing sports, and
yeah,
other people like Peloton, and they like that part of it. And so there's different things for everybody, and I think it's finding what you like and will get you motivated and keep you accountable. And
yeah.
I think that's the key point.
Yeah. So year round, what does your schedule look like, especially like now that we're coming into the off season? Is there downtime? Is there, are you, I would imagine you don't have a traditional 9 to 5 right now.
Yeah, usually. So obviously, our off season in the past has, I guess, our off season has started a lot earlier than the teams that are in the playoffs. Still, this year that's a little different. We were in the playoffs, so our off season, I guess our season got extended into May. So obviously that changes. We usually would get 3 weeks off in
Mm.
April, the last 3 weeks, and we wouldn't have to do anything. We just whatever, go out of town or just relax at home. This year we had a few days off, but then we start the draft process. So the pre-draft process where we have guys that are draft eligible to come into the facility and they get the testing done and do interviews and do the basketball workout. So that's kind of starts now. We had some guys filtering in just because they were bored and they didn't want to take the time off that
Yeah.
we recommended. And
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
get that too, the guys that are living local. But well, we get weekends off now, which is huge. When you haven't seen a weekend
yeah.
off in 7 months, it's unbelievable thing. So everybody out there that gets weekends off, you should appreciate it because
Right, yeah.
we definitely appreciate it in the off season. So that and then normal day today, it's usually 8:39 in the morning till we're usually done by like 2-ish, and we can get
Mhm.
out of there. Or we do some admin stuff, work out on our own, whatever it is. So
Got it.
a lot different flow and a lot less stress, and then weekends off and less travel too. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a nice break.
I know that we were talking a little while back one day, and we were talking about the time that you guys got to go to Paris and how awesome of a trip that was. So when the schedule comes out, because you had that experience of going to Paris with the team, do you look at the calendar now like, ooh, we get to go to London or for the most part, do you prefer to like stay, especially around the holidays? Like if you guys have a Christmas game, do you guys like those national games and those spotlights on you when you're abroad? Or, I mean, just, I don't know if you can give me some truth serum. Do you prefer not to have those rigorous those days?
No, I guess it depends on where, but yeah,
Yeah.
Paris and Montreal. I think 2 years ago last year we were in Montreal, which was cool. Obviously, I grew up in Canada, so that was I never actually been to Montreal either. And then
Oh yeah.
Paris was unbelievable. I think our organization just did a unbelievable job of making sure everybody had a great time. There was activities. They brought all the wives, so all the wives had activities to do, and it was just top notch. So, I think that I'll give the credit to the organization for sure on that one.
Mm.
And then a few years ago, we went to Mexico City, and
Mm.
that was okay. Honestly, it
Mm.
wasn't the best experience I've ever had, but
Mm.
so it depends on where,
Yeah, yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, it's always fun to explore. I know I've always liked to explore different areas, and obviously we don't have a ton of time to gallivant around too much, but
yeah.
it's just a new experience is always fun.
Yeah, Montreal's cool. I went there a couple of years ago. Do you have the poutine? Do you remember if you had the
I've
poutine?
had poutine
Yeah, I
before.
mean, you're Canadian. I mean, I'm sure,
I
but
don't know if I had it over there though. I don't think I did, but
so we're gonna be wrapping up this interview. A segment that we have normally on our podcast is 6 quick questions, but since I'm flying solo today, I'm only gonna throw 4 at you. These are completely random questions. So first thing that comes to mind. So are you ready for this Blue Dots 4 quick questions?
yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Question number 1, Jordan. Are burpees great conditioning drills or are they a modern torture device?
Yeah, they definitely might be modern torture devices for sure.
That's what
I
I
hate
thought.
them.
Yeah, I hate burpees. Number 2, what city never disappoints you when you guys are on the road?
Oh, I have to say Miami. I love Miami as far as just the weather, like especially during the season when it's winter. I just love the vibe, the water, the weather for sure. I think everybody, circles that on the calendar in the NBA.
Yeah, that's a good one. Next question. What is your favorite memory from any game you've either ever played in or watched courtside?
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. I'm recency bias. I don't know. I'm gonna say this year when Cade hit that buzzer beater in Miami off the glass 3-pointer from the top of the 3-point line was the best highlight of the year for sure. I'll remember that moment. We definitely enjoyed that game for sure.
Yeah, that was an awesome one.
I'm sure there's many others, and I, over 12 years, but my memory that comes out that sticks.
Yeah. All right, last one. Former Detroit Tiger and current San Francisco Giants pitcher Justin Verlander once confessed that he had a specific pregame ritual of eating a specific meal from Taco Bell before every start, consisting of 3 crunchy taco supremes, 1 cheesy gordita crunch, and a Mexican pizza. My question to you is, what would be your exact thoughts if you saw Cade Cunningham wolfing down this same order 30 minutes before tip-off?
I would probably shake my head in just disappointment. Really, that's what it would be. And honestly, I don't know what a lot of those players eat pregame, but I'm sure there's a few that are pretty similar to Justin Verlander for sure. I can guarantee that. Even though we have the in-house chefs that make whatever you want, I'm sure there's people that stop and have fast food.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm just imagining what that does to your body, but apparently, if that's his rocket fuel, then good for him. But
I guess it's all about performance. If you can perform your best when you're eating that, then kudos to you, I guess.
Hey, I got to tell you a fun fact. When I was in 8th grade, I was the backup center on my elementary basketball team. So I think I could have taken you. Unfortunately, I stopped growing at that point.
You peaked there. You peaked there. That's good.
I peaked at the age of 13 and 14.
That's impressive.
I'm Italian. What do you want, man? We have limits. Cool. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a pleasure. We wish you and the team continued success. We can't wait to see what next year has in store. Obviously, your owner has come out and said that the ceiling is even higher now that you guys have had playoff success. So we're going to be rooting for you, and enjoy the rest of the summer. Enjoy those weekends.
Yeah, but we will for sure. I'm going to get some stuff done around the house and enjoy the family. And we'll be seeing you probably every day with picking up the kids. And I appreciate your time today for sure.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, Jordan. Chat. Have a good one.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Here's what they're thinking and not sharing with you. Why should I give my best when that person over there is slacking? So you're a manager, leader who wants to build a better team. Your current state, toxicity, frustration, and low morale. I believe that clarity on process, commitment to that process, and a team that holds each other accountable can overcome these issues. It might feel weird to hit the reset button with a team that you have worked with for many years. But here is a golden opportunity as a leader to show up authentically and acknowledge the reality of how tough things are. You're going to revisit your processes, and you may discover that your team members actually were never crystal clear on what their role is. Here's your time to clarify, and then each person understanding their role and how not doing it impacts others on their team. You secure commitment at this stage, and then you give each person permission to hold each other accountable, and they know that they're going to be held accountable too.
Well, we just got done talking to Jordan Sabourin, head strength and conditioning coach for the Detroit Pistons. Hopefully a lot of insightful, fun facts about the team, about Jordan, about playing professionally, especially even the athletes who get to play abroad after college. A lot of fun stuff that we got to talk about there, especially workout regimens and the importance of how, everyday people, you and me, find something you enjoy, right? You don't, if jogging isn't your thing, maybe bike riding is, but the point is to be healthy, to try to live a healthy lifestyle, as healthy as you can for obvious reasons, for your own health, for the extra time, hopefully, that it gives you with your family and your children, the healthier you are. And, it's just so crucial that we do what we can with our 5 or 10 or 15 free minutes here or there to make sure that we are doing something for our own personal wellness, for our own personal health. And I know that Zaina would be all about that point if she was here. But yeah, great conversation. And yeah, we cannot wait to see what the next year has in store for the Pistons and the new heights that they're going to be reaching. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of This Blue Dot. And we will see you on a future episode very soon. Have a great one.